We're live.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting of the Coventry School Building Committee to order at 6:47 PM. Roll call. And
We're
Dixon.
live.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting of the Coventry School Building Committee to order at 6:47.
Sorry.
Ann Dixon. Alita Hall. Anna Isabel Dos Reis Kuntu. Here. Amy Anzalone. Kristen Bagley. Here. Christine Kennedy. Phil Conti.
Here.
Krista Berna. Hillary Lima, President Ross Hill,
Here.
James Pearson.
Here.
Kristen Janusis. Dan Perillo. JP Verducci.
Here.
And Don Howard.
Here.
And we just have a quorum by the skin of our teeth. Emergency evacuation procedures, in the event of an emergency, we will exit out the building the way that we came in. Or I think we said through the back door over here. Review of minutes, we have one set of minutes from May 5th up for discussion and vote this evening. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of May 5th? I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 5th.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it. Item number 4, bond updates.
Yeah, this will be pretty quick. I know Dean's not here and I'm not gonna, speak too deep into detail, other than the fact that one of the biggest things, in front of us was getting the 24 audit done. And as far as I know, everything's been submitted, everything's been received. We've communicated with the Auditor General, we communicated with municipal finance. Matter of fact, they were supposed to post our 24 audit on their website as of last Friday. Now that that's done, moving forward with the bond council, with the bond should be like a clear pathway. The town's finance director reached out to me today with some additional information that they need for that. I provided it. So the bond should be, knock on, hopefully if everything goes the way it's supposed to, sometime in July, the bond should be released and available. Then we can use the funds to do the projects that we need to do.
Project updates, we have the gym, the science labs, auditorium, the sprinkler project at the high school here.
So I'm gonna do the gym first. Just because I think it's cool, if I can get this here. So this is the beginning, and I want to start at the beginning. All right, so I did our gym project kicked off in May with a demolition and getting moving on, getting the project done. So this picture wasn't taken at the very beginning. This was probably after a few weeks. The reason I put this picture up is you can see some of the things that have been changed. Like, for example, the ceiling is yellow. It's no longer yellow. If you look at the walls, you see above the white line, it's just cinder block. It's not painted. And then I think in this picture, the windows might have been updated already. What the people on the lifts are doing are going from going through all the different spots to put up the conduits and everything and the wiring for electric, because we're doubling the number of electrical lights that are up there, and we're also putting in fans. So that was sort of like, fairly early on. Here's a picture, it shows the wall painted, it shows the ceiling kind of getting started. But notice these windows, see how they look?
Yeah.
You're gonna see a picture later on. So those windows were what I was describing before as being just like this yellow opaque consistency, which brought in not a lot of natural light. These are the new windows from the outside. When you stand in the gym now, and Russ has been there a lot more than I have, you stand in the gym and look out the windows, you can see the clouds, you can see the sky, you can see the sun, you can see birds flying by. With the old windows, you could not see that. Matter of fact, even when the lights are off and they're doing some work in there, there's a lot of natural light that floods in. It's just been a huge improvement. When people drive by the outside and they see this, just that facade makes the place look a lot better. And they did all our windows. So in this picture, they're working on windows. You can see the painting all the way up. We get the red stripe on the top. You can see the black ceiling is completely done. This is when they put up our banners. So we had a lot of old historic cloth banners that we've actually put into storage because they were beginning to come apart. And so what we did is we used these I think they're like styrofoam boards, and we just have one for every sport, and then we just list the championships on there so that we don't have, any, and they coordinate with the gym. But we didn't get rid of any of the banners, because somebody actually asked. And this is when the wood got delivered and just, brought in and stacked up. This is a cool picture, right? So they have to put down this subflooring, and it's really crazy the way it's set up. It's got like a rubber on the bottom, like a barrier. So they put down a plastic, this, and then it sits on top. And then these are the stacks of planks that they're gonna lay out. And then this is the picture that I got. This is today, this next one. So that's today. So you can see the red ribbons from the ceiling. Every one of those is where a light fixture is gonna go. And so you can see with like doubling our lights, you can see how clear the light's coming in from the windows. You can see the paint job on the ceiling, the black all the way through. You can see the white walls, the red stripe. And you can see on the left-hand side there, they're starting to lay down those planks. So that's an update of where we are today. Any questions, comments?
So what comes next for us after they lay that all out? They've got to stain it and treat it, I would imagine.
Yeah,
and then
it's
They put the like lines down and
all the big logo, all of that. So it's a big process, and they're gonna be putting the lights in before they do that. So, yeah, it's quite a project.
It's all
It's gonna be
floors in
beautiful.
July. All floors in July, and sound system, lights, fans, and then bleachers come
The
in
bleachers will go in.
after that. So our school committee meeting's on July 24th. At that point, the floor should be all down and sanded and finished, and I don't know if the logo will be on it, but it will be in a much better place.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Two, actually. So where are the banners stored, the historical banners?
Joe Fagnoli has them in a storage place in
Could
the
we
high school.
display them anywhere in the school behind the glass?
I'll ask
You
him.
know, we have our trophies, and if they're rolled up, and you just see here with like some kind of plaque or something explaining what that banner is.
Yeah,
I
I'll
just
talk
think
to
it
him.
would be very historic for the kids to see how far
Mhm.
and how, how school was.
Mhm.
And then the other question is, on the windows, I know that given that we are surrounded by many trees, sometimes the birds get confused and they hit the windows. Is there anything that's being put so that as birds fly into it? Then because what ends up happening is when there's a lot of light, or that's especially this type of window, they'll hit it, they'll be uncautious, and then they fall to the floor. And I'm just wondering, is there anything that we can do to mitigate that if that does happen?
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's been.
Just a
thought
thought.
through. I know we did talk about impact, forget birds for a second, just impact of somebody thrown from the outside or the inside. The panes are double pane, and they're rated for a high impact, so that they shouldn't break. I mean, if somebody throws a brick, it's probably gonna break. But the way they're designed is only one pane should break. It doesn't shatter the whole thing. So, and the guy who built it out said that they've already have everything sort of measured and prepped up so that if one pane breaks, they can flop in a new glass square.
They do have a tint to them.
Mhm. Oh, they do have it.
They do.
Okay.
So that would minimize, would that tend to minimize the impact of the birds thinking that it's a.
If it's reflective,
Yeah.
I do that, but if it becomes, this happened to me in another building I was in, and we had called the Audubon Society, and they suggested just putting a little like, what's it called, cricket outline of birds in. I know it's gonna ruin your aesthetic, but like in a couple, because then they won't approach it if they think there's another bird there, and it worked.
We've also put some fake plastic owls on the roof parapet
Yeah, that's a good idea.
in each corner.
We can do
And
that.
that was relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
Oh, you did
Just-
do
It cures
that?
them.
Yeah, you just get plastic owls about this big. And then you put them on the four corners.
I'm just saying because from experience at newer buildings, we had a lot of, because it disrupted their concern, you know, their own habitat. And we had a lot of girls and the cleanup was not nice. So
Don,
they're not that big, but they're big enough to create a new effect. Just, that's it, that's all I got.
Don, not to jump ahead, but, what is the timing of the other items?
Yep.
I know sprinkler will be, but I'm just thinking of publicizing these improvements, whether that be inviting, Kendra to come in and take pictures before the school year starts, or how this can be integrated into
Yep.
orientation and, open house, like, I'm just curious if if any of these are gonna be timed to finish
So
together.
the only one that's probably gonna be timed with this one. The science lab, so there's 13 rooms, Ross, 14? 13 rooms in the high school that are completely gutted. There's no. I shouldn't say gutted, they're not down to studs or anything, they're gutted in the sense of all the workstations have been pulled out. So there's no
No plumbing.
science labs and all the plumbing and the outlets, all that stuff's been taken out. And then, we're actually trying to find, some funds to, I think we might be able to do some painting in there, because it'd be silly to load in all this new, casing and casework, and then it not be, you know, the walls not being painted. So we're trying to find, Russ and I are working on that. That should be done around the same time as this, Jim. The auditorium, the only thing that's left of the auditorium is light and sound. That work probably won't get done until after the kids do their December show. And then they'll come in and do it maybe after that. That's when we did the floors last time and the bleachers, the seating in the December, January window. And then sprinkler project, I mean, you can probably speak to this better than I can. I think we're shooting to be started by September, right? That's the goal. And that will take probably a full year.
Yes, for the December of 26.
Okay. Is there anything that we can tout with the new science labs to say, we can now do X in instruction, or we can now offer X type of class? Like, I'm trying to think ahead, this probably goes outside of the scope of what we can discuss here, but I'm trying to give you a sense of where my head's at in terms of how we can leverage these shiny things
The good
for
news
the
is,
benefit of the school.
we already offer like a full gamut of high-end science courses, right? We have,
I wasn't sure if our
Yeah.
classrooms held us back.
yeah, so they do hold us back in the sense of, the teachers are in a position where they have to kind of do things in a way that's different than they probably would or should. You know, they use Bunsen burners, they don't use Bunsen burners, they'll use Sterno. And do a sample, you know, a demonstration with Sterno, but then the kids don't have access to it. Or the outlets, at the current station, some of them don't work, so the teachers are doing demonstrations. The fume hoods are not operational, so they can't do some of the experiments they would do because you can't vent out. So there are definitely things that we could do better. So I don't know if there's classes that we could offer. I mean, we already do chemistry 1 and chemistry 2 AP. But I think what we could do is a better job of how we deliver instruction and the experiences that kids get in a more hands-on manner versus just participating in, you know, demonstrations. But I will say in terms of like accreditation, and we're not due just yet, but when they come through and look at these areas, you know, our gym has always been tagged as being a place where we could lose accreditation because the floor was just so poorly done. And our science labs, they never threatened to take our accreditation away, but it's always been a sore subject because they just weren't in great condition. You know, if you looked at some of and I have pictures someplace, I mean, there was holes in some of the workstations where, you know, just literally a hole right in it. If you went to any of our award ceremonies this year, whether it was the CTA awards night, or even like the awards night that the high school does for scholarships, the number of kids that we have going to high-end universities and colleges or studying science-related topics is extremely high. So if we can push that and make it even stronger, I think, you know, we'd see even more kids going into We have biomed, we have a pathway for biomed. Now, 3 rooms are not truly lab rooms. Right now, they're classrooms that we kind of jerry-rigged. Is it 3 or 4? 3, but we're gonna set them up as more of a lab room.
Okay.
So that they have more of a lab experience. So biomed is gonna have a little bit more access to the spaces that they need. But we have kids, that went to biomed, we have kids went to nuclear and chemical engineering, we have kids going to aerospace. You know, just really high-end academics in the sciences, so.
Yeah, I think if we can do a walkthrough with press and say like, this is what the new school year looks like at Coventry High School. I think that to get those photos out there, that'll go a long way.
Yeah, we've heard from a few of the big outlets about coming in, because there's been some, you know, we post some pictures online on Facebook, and then there's just been a little bit of a general buzz, which is good. We just didn't want them to come in and see something that wasn't like shiny and new, so
Oh,
I
no,
think you're right.
Quite frankly,
Yeah.
press aren't gonna care now, but when the back to school time comes, they will,
Yeah.
but. And I think emphasizing to the community here, if I'm not mistaken, this whole gym piece is not majority bond money. It's mostly grant money.
About 2/3 of it.
I think that's huge piece. They should know. So,
Yeah, and we've had this conversation at the schools a few times about how even though we are struggling with deficits and budgeting, we're still moving forward with projects to improve our school district. And, you know, I think that's something that people need to know, that we're not gonna, you know, lose momentum.
oh, and we'll be underway with the sewer piece as well
Mhm.
by that time.
Mhm.
JP, you already did that.
Just a quick question, because you just mentioned it a little bit as far as budget wise. You know, more fans, lights, impact on operating costs between that and the new equipment. Do you think it's?
I think it's gonna, it might be a wash
Energy
because,
efficiency at least?
right, because everything we had in there is old and not efficient. But everything that's going in is new and efficient. So even though we're doubling the lights and putting in fans, I think the pull on I mean, we won't know until we actually turn on the light switch, but I think the pull on the grid is gonna be a little bit different than if we were just using the old stuff. We did have to chase the wires all the way back to the boxes, though. It couldn't just switching it out like at the fixture level, just because, you know, you don't wanna put all that new stuff in and then, you know, wire fries halfway back to the box. So we did do a lot of wiring. I don't know, Russ, miles of wire, right?
Lines. The conduits, unbelievable.
So even that, I think, helps with
Oh,
efficiency.
yeah, it's amazing.
I think that will help with efficiency too, just to have like, you know, well rated. I mean, I don't know as much about this stuff as you do, but I
Well,
think
the break,
having.
the breakers were all original, and, you know, they were popping with what we had, you know. So, it was time.
There's a photographer that does a lot of work. I think he volunteers actually. His name is John Riley. He does a ton in Coventry. And he used to say that, I'm not quoting him, but Joe Fagnoli said that sometimes taking pictures in the gym was frustrating because it was so dark. And that he was looking forward, just from a photographer's perspective, having a bright gym where you can actually take good pictures and, you know, get some nice action shots. So that's kind of an update on all our projects.
I know that well is not listed here, but are there any updates with the EPA grant?
Yeah, they said,
Timeline?
yeah, they said that there's no impact right now on the EPA grant. Matter of fact, we were trying to get a meeting together.
Do we wanna get into this? I'm sorry,
yeah.
it's not on the agenda. We
Mm.
have a lot of folks that like to watch and
Yep.
file and make.
I could put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry, Crystal. I just wanna be careful. There's enough of that going around. I don't wanna.
I'm gonna stop sharing this if everybody's good.
Thanks. Any other discussion on the projects listed here? The next one we have is the OPM selection recommendation.
So what we did is we put out like a request for proposals. And we reached out to everybody who was listed on the MPA as having the qualifications to be an OPM. We sent them all the same email with the same request. We had 5, five responses. And each of the 5, you know, put a proposal forward. And then we had a subgroup of people look at the proposals and kind of go through them. I was one person, Phil was one person, JP was a person, Alita Hall was on there. I think that was everybody, right? Oh, and the town manager, Dan Pillow. And so we kind of went through a few things. I have the proposals, the original proposals, if anybody wants to look at them. But, and they're available. But in terms of like our recommendation, the group of people that met, what we found is, about 3 of the proposals were very, very close in price. And the scope of work was pretty much aligned to a percentage of what the total project was gonna cost. So it was a more general response to the request in terms of, here are the 2 big projects that are gonna cost about this much money. And our fee is associated with that cost by this percentile. Then we had one that came in very, very low, but their response really wasn't aligned with some of the requests and the things that, we believe that we need. And then there was one that was sort of like, just right in the middle, right? The cost was definitely more competitive, but we felt like their response was tailored to our requests and what we wanted. So, the one that we ended up looking at was the Turner, Townsend, and Healy. And they priced out, the Healy or Healy, I think it's here. I have it here. They priced out each project individually versus, that's not like. Oh, this one. Here. So they priced out each project and it did a little bit more à la carte versus like, here's a whole.
Because we determined we didn't need the OPM for every project.
Really just 2 projects. It's the sprinklers.
Yep.
And it's the roof at the middle school. And the roof of the middle school won't be done until next summer. Because those 2 projects are over the $2 million threshold. Everything else we're doing is under that threshold. So the recommendation from that subgroup to this group was that we go with Turner, Townsend, and Healy. Like I said, they're here for people to look at. We did do an analysis of sort of like, I have more of these in my office. I think I just grabbed one. We did do like an analysis of like what each one of them has in terms of like what they offer. Let me remember now, grab my other set so I can pass it around. 10 seconds. This is just like a snapshot of each one of them.
Okay, yeah, I was just looking at my email to see if I had that and I just didn't look at it.
Just to give you a general idea of who they are and what they have in terms of certifications and experience and, the level of commitment and
So
basic
the
overview.
final column you're talking about?
Well, this is a comparison. So if you look at the top, it's got their names. Down the side, it has some different like indicators, so you can do a side-by-side comparison on all 5 of them. And then this last column is the one that we're recommending.
Your thoughts?
So I agreed with, what we kind of talked about. So the thing that grabbed my attention was, oftentimes if you go with someone who's so huge, it's tough to get their attention on these. So you'll notice like Colliers, they do a lot of the real big ones. And then, so that was kind of what I was thinking. And then as you went on, you know, when you notice somebody just gives you a percent, to me, in my mind, it's just like a copy and paste submission. Whereas someone who read it and put a little more time into it, I hope that that's the intention of the fellow. We get for the whole project, so that's what led me to, that was my final decision. Done a lot of stuff with Prime at the state level, they're, not necessarily known for these types of projects. And, you know, again, they're pretty big, they do a lot of big state buildings, but that's not.
You just have it,
necessarily- So,
That was their proposal.
but I was happy that we got a response. I think that was great that you guys sent that out to get 5 responses from qualified people. And
Yep.
I think it was good diligence.
Yeah, Phil and I and Alita worked on the proposal together. I tried to streamline it so that it would be a pretty quick turnaround, so I think, what did we do? Is it 2-week turnaround? Something like that.
And Alita's worked with these guys before?
I don't know if she's worked with them specifically. I think she might know some of the individuals that are involved, but I don't know if she's worked with them.
I trust her opinion a lot, that's.
She, I mean, JP was there. She had no reservations as far as I can recall about our recommendation. It was unanimous. There was no, there was a lot of discussion, but there was no disagreement. Just sending around the proposal, just in case anybody wants to read it through it. Then I think, once we take this vote, then Phil can kind of fill in the blanks on the urgency of an OPM with the sprinkler project.
Is the motion to go to recommend to the school committee or is it to the council?
So, you know, we were talking about that, Phil and I think ultimately it ends up going to the council, because I think the council's issuing the bond.
Yeah.
And overseeing the finance of it, so I think ultimately the council is gonna have to approve
Okay,
the OPM, but I think for the purposes of getting this to the council, the building committee has to vote for it, but I also think it helps Phil kind of keep moving the ball so that we can get the RFP for the sprinkler. He's gotta go through RIDE to get everything approved, but then get that out the door so we can get
yeah,
a
because
contractor.
we're meeting the 22nd. But you guys meet the 24th, so. I don't know how you wanna do it,
Yeah, I don't know
if you want to go right to council.
yeah, I think we can go straight to council. I don't,
Okay.
since, I don't think, I don't know if Mr. Pearson disagrees, but I think we can go straight to council.
Absolutely.
And I'll just update the committee on the 24th.
Trying to limit when meetings we have in July.
We did the same thing.
Any other discussion on the OPM recommendation? If there's no further discussion, I guess we will entertain a motion to recommend Turner and Townsend hearing
Yes.
as the OPM recommendation for the projects for the middle school roof and the high school sprinkler system to the town council. Do I hear a motion?
A motion.
Motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Do I hear a second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, everyone. I'll turn the next one over to Phil, when you're ready.
Sure. So we submitted our schematic designs for the high school sprinkler project to RIDE. They have responded with their review and comments. We have developed our design development drawings and we're ready to submit them. One of the comments was, who is going to be the OPM? So we will include that in our submission. And we just need a vote from the school building committee to go ahead and make that design development submission to RIDE.
Wait till JP gets back.
Sure.
Any discussion?
We are continuing along with the construction documents. And as soon as we receive approval from the DD submission, we'll be comfortable to start drafting the RFP with the OPM for the sprinkler project itself.
I'll give Phil a plug here. So the good news about working with somebody who's done this a lot of times is he can anticipate what Ryder's gonna ask. And is getting all the information ahead of time, so when he does a submission, he doesn't have to get a kickback and another submission and kickback and another submission. He just can kind of anticipate what's coming and make sure everything's all packaged together. So it's one submission, one approval, hopefully, right? And then we're off and running. And the other thing is with the sprinkler project, we have a consent agreement with the fire marshal's office, and so we need to make sure we keep our eye on the ball here because this project has to start on time so that it ends on time, which is very important.
Here's the question. So, are the docs that we presented to you today, are they going to be online?
You're talking about the docs that he's gonna submit, I think, probably after they're done.
Yeah, we can make them available online.
Or you know, just for record.
Well, yeah, and I think you bring up a good point because we kind of rebuilt our school building committee website link. So I think there needs to be some uploading of pictures and documents and things to make that a little bit more user friendly. So I think that's a good idea.
Okay, we can vote now. I'll entertain a motion to recommend to submit design development for the high school sprinkler project to RIDE. SBA. As submitted by Studio Jade. I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Second. Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Guys have it. Public comments? Is anybody here? Scheduling of the next meeting, when do you need this again?
I don't know, Phil, you think August or July, what do you think?
I think there will be a meeting either the end of August or the beginning of the end of July or the beginning of August.
So we can either set a date now or I'll pull the group. I know about half the people are not here, so it's.
Let's
it's your
check,
preference.
let's check with people on vacations and everything else, so that way we're guaranteed.
Yeah.
I don't think we should try and slap one down now, especially if we don't have any majority there.
Kind of speaks to the point of that, right?
Right.
There's no further discussion. Entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:19. Motion. Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We